At 12 years old, Zach Miller laced up his sneakers and went for a walk. But he didn't head to the park. No, he took a walk in someone else's shoes. Now a freshman at Penn State University, his trek hasn't stopped. Miles later, he's collected over 50,000 pairs of shoes for people in need through national nonprofit Souls for Souls. Zach, welcome to PSN News. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Thanks for having me, Quinn.
Okay, before we get started, can you tell me what Souls for Souls actually is?
Yeah, so Souls for Souls is a global nonprofit that collects new and gently used shoes for people in places like Haiti, Honduras, and parts of Africa, with the main goal to help end the cycle of poverty.
That's an amazing organization. Now, take me back to where it all started. What prompted you to start collecting shoes in the first place?
Yeah, so I was about 8. My mom showed me this video on the Souls for Souls website. In it, there were kids walking across the streets, dirt and debris, no socks or shoes. And I thought to myself, like, how is this fair? I played lacrosse at the time, so I had cleats, I had flip-flops, normal sneakers, and these kids didn't even have one pair of shoes. So I decided that, I'm gonna do something about this. I'm gonna make a difference. So eventually the Zachary Miller 25K shoe drive was born.
Wow, so this is definitely a movement fueled by passion, fueled by positivity. So you collect these shoes. Where do they actually go to when you donate them?
Yeah, so the shoes that I collect go to Souls for Souls' micro-enterprise program. This means that when the shoes are sent to these developing nations, Souls for Souls teaches these people how to have their own businesses with the shoes. This helps them make money so they can provide for their kids food, clothes, housing, education. And as I said before, that helps really end the cycle of poverty.
Wow, so the work you're doing really does pay off in dividends, it seems like. So you set this goal of 25,000, and then it turned into a goal of 50,000. Can you walk me through how that number changed in the first place?
Yeah, so originally when I set out to collect 25,000, Souls for Souls was backing me the whole way, and it was like, oh yeah, I'll hit this 25,000, and then maybe I'll be done. But I got there, and I was like, it wasn't really a question of is this over. It was just I'm just going to keep doing this. 25,000 pairs of shoes is the same as the whole year's worth of food, clothes, education for 25 families.
Wow.
So I was like, I can make a tangible difference in these people's lives, and it wasn't a question. I was just, I'm going to keep doing this.
That's awesome. I mean, there must have been moments where the process felt daunting, right? What was the force, whether it was you or someone else, that really kept you going throughout all this time?
Yeah, so there's definitely a bunch of late nights in the garage, tying shoes, bagging shoes, hundreds of pairs of shoes in my garage at, all hours of the day. But, it's really my mom. Like, my family's very important to me, but my mom was there through it all. She was my chauffeur to all over New Jersey and talking to all these businesses, saying, would you host a shoe box? Would you host a shoe drive? I really wouldn't have been able to do this without her, and, she's my support system, and yeah.
Oh, that is so sweet. So we've been talking, and you just hit this goal of 50,000 pairs of shoes very recently. How does that feel? You've been working for this for a really long time.
It's kind of surreal, It was 10 years ago when I was 8 and I saw that video. 6 years actually collecting shoes. It's just, it's hard to understand. It's just 50,000 is such like a huge number, and just like pairs of shoes. And I don't know, I'm kind of at a loss for words.
Probably speechless, probably hard to fathom because
Yeah.
you made such a difference through all the work you've been doing. Yeah. Okay, so you reached your goal. You're here at Penn State. You're a freshman. I'm sure you're busy taking classes, getting that major. What's next? What are you doing now?
I really like to bring it here to school. Like, I don't know if there's a Souls for Souls club here, but I'd love to, get a shoe drive going. We have so many people here that, fortunately, a lot of people do have an extra pair of shoes. And, it's something that you can just go in and say, hey, I don't wear these anymore. Let's donate them to and make a difference.
And then throughout this whole process, I'm sure you've had so many people help you throughout, because you didn't collect 25 of your own pairs of shoes.
No,
I'm sure
not.
lots of people donated to it. What do you think motivated them to donate to your cause?
It's something that a lot of people have, and a lot of people are willing to say, oh yeah, I have all these other shoes, like I don't need them. And just support of seeing like, hey, there's a kid doing this, like why am I not helping, is a big driving force for people to want to help.
Well said. To wrap it up, if 12-year-old Zach were sitting in front of us right now, right where it all started, what would you tell him?
That's a good one, actually. I'd say, it's going to be a lot of work at sometimes, but the payoff is so worth it. Like, you're making a difference in these people's lives, and, a lot of people going through their daily life, it's easy to forget about the bigger issues in the world, and, it's something that helps us stay grounded.
Nice. Zach, thank you so much for joining us today and telling us about your journey with Souls for Souls. And now stick around because coming up next, Kaylee and Christian will have the latest news from across the nation.